Well, greetings vinyl community, and welcome to VC Friday, the Chumped edition. Yes, this is where I get to be the chump, because this is where I show records that are recent acquisitions that maybe I shouldn't have oughta bought. But there they are. And the first one I have to show is this 1969 album from Deep Purple, self-titled Deep Purple. And it's got the very cool Hieronymus Bosch album, album art. No, Hieronymus Bosch was not an album artist, but Hieronymus Bosch art on the front and on the back. Some familiar, scary images there. All reduced to black and white. But I've always had a soft spot for this original incarnation of Deep Purple with Rod Evans as the front man. And this album shows them moving in a direction away from their, well, not away from, but developing their original hard psychedelic sound into something moving towards genuine progressive rock. At a point when progressive rock hadn't really been established as a thing. This is before King Crimson or Yes had released their first albums, so it's very much sort of proto-prog. It's prog in development, but then that whole direction got sidelined when they had the lineup change and turned into the hard rock machine with Deep Purple in rock. This shows that, well, I actually skipped over the concerto for group and orchestra, which is a very good thing to do with that album. But this shows sort of a little bit of that sort of pseudo-orchestral classical DNA, because there is a piece for chamber orchestra composed by John Lord in the epic track April on here. They do a version of Donovan's Lelania, otherwise it's all originals. So it's a really good album. It's a very interesting album, very good album. Why do I say I shouldn't ought to bought it? Well, I was suspicious of it. I knew that there were bogus copies around of the first Deep Purple album. And I wasn't really sure if that applied to the other Deep Purple albums on the Tetragrammaton label, which this one is. But I had a feeling, because this album just looked fishy. The cover doesn't look right. The band name is just in white. I think it should be colored. And this has, as a giveaway on the spine, manufactured and distributed by Creative Sounds Limited, Philadelphia, PA. That is apparently the mark of a bogus copy of this album. This is a counterfeit that went on the market, and that also apparently applies to their second album, Book of Taliesin. But it was cheap. You know, I thought it was fishy. I wasn't sure about this. Turned out, sure enough, yeah, there are counterfeits of this. I got one, but it was cheap, and if I left it behind, I would not get a second chance. So I tried it. I bought it. It's fake, but what are you going to do? Next up, some full-frontal classical avant-garde from the Polish composer Krzysztof Penderecki. This is Penderecki Conducts Penderecki, Album 1 on the Angel label. And this is the companion piece to the album that I've had for years, Penderecki Conducts Penderecki, Album 2. So Volume 1 has been on my radar for a long time, except that sometimes I couldn't remember which one was the one I already had. But saw a halfway decent copy of this recently and picked it up. And this is music written by Penderecki in the 60s. So it's peak period. It's Penderecki at his most experimental, avant-garde, and forbidding. He, at this point in his career, was very much in the same bag as Serge Ligeti. And Ligeti's music is familiar to a lot of us from the 2001 soundtrack, the very abstract soundscapes that accompany some of the scenes in that. Penderecki was definitely in there, very jagged, very far away from anything regarding conventional music, conventional melody and harmony. Later in his career, Penderecki would retreat to a more conventionally musical sound. He felt that avant-garde music was not really serving its purpose of communicating with the public, and so he wanted to be more accessible in the later phases of his career. But this is definitely not that. There are 4 works featured here: Phonogrammi for flutes and chamber orchestra, the cello concerto, De Natura Sonoris, or On the Nature of Sound, and Canon for orchestra and tape. So this is definitely some good stuff, the kind of music I like, but why is this a Chump album? Well, the vinyl looked really fine in the store, and it looks really fine at home. I can't see the problem, but there is an edge warp or heat damage of some kind that is visible as far as the needle responding to it. And it's audible in that it makes a shh for about the first inch of grooves. So whenever the needle passes through that, you can see something's happening, even though I can't see any warp. It looks like a super clean copy of the album. It's not terrible. It's not a hugely intrusive noise, especially since the music can get pretty cacophonous through much of that time, but it is there. So it makes me feel like I still would like an upgrade on this album. This is really close, but I don't know. There's just some kind of little problem, and I didn't spend too much of this. It's certainly not worth taking it all the way back up to the store in San Francisco and trying to get a refund on it. So, stuck with it for now, but I will keep an eye out for an upgrade. Now, on the same trip where I picked up the Penderecki album, I spotted this in the bargain bin. $2 for the double LP of Steve Hillage, Live Herald. I thought, well, there has to be a catch. And I looked at the vinyl, and it looked clean, and it looked reasonably flat. So I brought it home. And as with the Deep Purple, I had my suspicions. It couldn't be in the $2 bin for no reason. but it's a wonderful album. It's actually 3 sides live and 1 side of new studio material. The live material is by 3 different lineups from various concerts in 1977 and 78, with in particular all of side 1 and about 2/3 of side 3 are by an amazing lineup with Clive Bunker from Jethro Tull, of course, on drums, Colin Bass on bass and vocals, and of course he was in Camel, Christian Boulez from Clear Light, I think, glissando and rhythm guitar, Phil Hodge on keyboards, Basil Brooks on synthesizer and flute, Steve Hillage's partner Miquette Giraudy on synthesizer, echoing vocals and bells, and Steve Hillage himself on lead guitar and vocals. Very good spacey prog rock with lots of luscious synthesizer sounds. Great stuff. Records look pretty clean. The vinyl, the cover was a little beat. It had several stickers on it, which I was able to remove, although I left the 2 for the price of 1 sticker on. So I cleaned it up as best I could, and it's not bad at all. Side 1 sounds great. Side 2 sounds great. Side 3 skips. Right towards the beginning, like a minute in, there are 3 skips. I hate skips. I feel like an album that skips is worthless. Even if it's a rare album, if it skips, that's a big problem for me. You're not hearing all the music. But this is so good, and it was so cheap, and the skips are over pretty soon when you're listening to the side. I feel like, keeping this in my collection, but I also feel like, no, I've got to upgrade this now. I've got to go out and get a good copy. So I may do that, but for now, I'm just going to be the chump and enjoy this excellent album, Live Herald by Steve Hillage. Unlike the previous 3, there's nothing wrong with this album. It's in beautiful condition, and it's a really good album, but it was the wrong choice. I had my choice between this album, George Russell, Listen to the Silence, and in the same new arrivals bin there was another George Russell album, the re-recorded version of Electronic Sonata for Souls Loved by Nature. I should have gotten that one. And there was a John Sermon album that I don't have. I should have gone for that one, but I went for this one. And it's good, but if you look at the lineup, it sounds so tantalizing. Orchestra personnel: Fender bass, Björnar Andersson; acoustic bass, Arild Andersson; electric guitar, Terje Rypdal; organ, Webster Lewis; electric piano, Bobo Stenson; trumpet, Stanton Davis; tenor saxophone, Jan Garbarek; percussion, Jan Christensen; and timpani, George Russell. So you've got a lot of ECM mainstays there. Terje Rypdal, John Christensen, and Jan Garbarek, and Bobo Stenson, Arild Andersson are all, except for Christensen, all known as band leaders on ECM. And together they just sound amazing. And they do on this album when they get to be heard. The problem is that this is almost entirely a vocal album. And the vocals are mostly not even very melodic. There's a lot of just chanting, just hanging on a single note.
24, 1971. President Nguyen Phan Thieu has raised the possibility that South Vietnamese troops will invade North Vietnam.
The album begins with a French translation of the title, Listen to the Silence, and goes on through various poetic forms. It isn't really explicitly stated who wrote all of the lyrics. Much of it is taken from an article in Newsweek. There's a lot of stuff about Vietnam. There is material taken from Bury My Heart at Wounded Knee by D. Brown. Reports from the New York Times, July 1970. And minimal excerpts, as it says, from The Mark by Maurice Nicole and from Dueno Elegies by Rainer Maria Rilke. So it tells you where some of it came from, but there are other parts that are clearly poetic writings that don't have an attribution. I don't know if George Russell himself wrote those words or what. It's not very clear, but the real point is that the singing, such as it is, really overshadows the instrumental work. Most of the time, if the instrumentalists are heard at all, it's only one or two at a time, or maybe three. Now, towards the end of the album, middle towards the end of side 2, there's a marvelous cooking section where the full band gets to blow, and that's some amazing stuff. But it comes after rather a lot of listening to the chanting, and I'm just not that into it. It's described as a mass for our time, and I don't know in what respect it could be considered a mass. There's certainly nothing very devotional or even spiritual about it. Anyway, this is on the Soul Note label. It's in beautiful condition. Both the vinyl and the cover are nice and shiny. It's got a nice gatefold, so I don't regret having bought it because it's really good, but I regret buying it instead of some possibly more exciting choices I might have made. So that's VC Friday. Kind of a shorter one this week, I think. It's kind of like letting you out of school early, right? It's been kind of a fraught week, so I'll just leave it at that. Thanks very much for watching, and be well. I will talk with you again next week. Bye-bye for now.